Wow, those are some interesting flavors.
Well, we've been walking for really quite a while and the market just keeps on going.
This is so magical. We are definitely the very first people here today. Since it looks a little bit scary, that's exactly where Gillian wants us to go.
Well, this is it. We're wrapping up a month in Oaxaca City, and that means we're at the end of our whole adventure here in Mexico.
And it also means that we've had our very last chance to try breaking out of the tourist bubble.
As you guys know, we're always on the hunt for authentic travel experiences. We don't want our trip to be all about fancy restaurants and expensive tours, and we definitely don't want to be always stuck paying tourist prices.
We had an incredible time in Mexico City, but we were staying in super trendy, super expensive R.LUM.R. And we also had a great time in San Miguel de Allende, but of course, that's a city known for lots of tourists and sky-high prices.
Finally, we had a whole month here in Oaxaca City. This is a place that's famous for its interesting history, indigenous culture, and of course, really amazing, unforgettable food. So this could be the place where we'd finally connect with the local culture and maybe even say goodbye to those tourist prices.
Well, we're gonna find out. So we're at the end of our month here in Oaxaca, and this is the time when we tally the final bill. What did we get up to and how much did it cost? But before we get into all of that, we're giving a big hello to all you nomads. So if you're brand new around here, I'm Stephanie and this is Gillian.
We're traveling the world full time and sharing our adventures as we go. So first up, no visit is complete without taking a tour of the historic center. Oaxaca isn't exactly a small city, but it does have kind of a nice small town vibe. Just behind me, we have the Zocalo, which is the heart of the city. There are always lots of vendors here, and it gets pretty lively later in the day. Of course, it does get a little touristy, but that's just what you'd expect from the town square. And just across the way, we've got the city's main cathedral that dates all the way back to the 1500s, and it's absolutely spectacular. And over here, we've got the Mercado Benito Juarez, just one of the many very exciting markets where you can get all kinds of street food and groceries and crafts. So that's a very small taste of some of the main sights of the city, but for us, what we were most excited about was what we could find in the rest of the region.
And we're off. We're heading just 20 minutes out of town to one of the must-sees of Oaxaca. So this is the archaeological site of Monte Alban. It's an ancient pyramid complex that was home to the Zapotec people for hundreds and hundreds of years. And this morning, we're gonna take a look. Well, we're here first thing in the morning and it's really quiet on the trail heading into the main site complex. I think we sort of beat the main tourist buses. This is so magical. We are definitely the very first people here today. And this site, I can see a lot of it right from here. It's absolutely magnificent. So we have seen some of the great pyramids that are close to Mexico City. And these aren't as tall, but the positioning up on this hillside with the whole valley below and then the clouds flowing by, it's truly spectacular. Wow. This site is so magnificent. So it's actually quite compact. It all seems to be on the top of this hill. And it's really so beautiful. So we can see all the foundations of what would have been a really magnificent city back in the day of the Zapotecs.
What an amazing site. I think what I like most about visiting these ancient sites is just trying to imagine what life would have been like for people living here so many centuries ago.
So Oaxaca is very well known for its lively, very colorful markets, and today is the perfect day to explore one. It's Sunday, so that means it's market day here in the town of Tlacolula. Hopefully I'm getting that right. And this town has just exploded with hundreds of stalls selling basically everything you could possibly want. And the thing that we're most excited to see are the local crafts. So Oaxaca is very famous for all of its artisan crafts, and that's what we're going to be seeing today. So this market is incredible. They kind of have everything here. There's clothes, hats, I see baskets, fresh fruit, fresh meat. I mean, whatever you want right now, you can probably get it right here. And if you want onions, they've got onions. And if you want machetes, they've got machetes here too.
Well, we've been walking for really quite a while and the market just keeps on going. It's pretty busy and I really haven't seen any other tourists here. So I really feel like we're getting an authentic slice of life here in Tlacolula. So we've been seeing a variety of crafts sprinkled in amongst the other goods here. And here's an interesting one that actually comes from the coast. This sort of gourd is called jicara, and it has been carved beautifully, and also it can be used as a vessel for holding water or other liquids.
So we have driven an hour and a half outside the city and now we're on a 45-minute hike, and it's all to see one of the natural wonders of Oaxaca. So we're at a place called Hierve de Agua, and this is a petrified waterfall. So I have seen a lot of waterfalls in my life, but I've never seen a petrified one. So this should be very interesting. Ooh, I'm starting to see my first glimpse of the waterfall. So it's way up high over there and it looks like melted wax. It's really interesting. Wow, this is really incredible. I've never seen anything like this. So it is like a waterfall in appearance, but it's actually made from drops of water that have left behind mineral deposits, and it looks like it's flowing over the rocks. It's really quite incredible. So I see some people on the very top of the waterfall, and I'm assuming since it looks a little bit scary, that's exactly where Gillian wants us to go.
Wow, what an amazing view from up here. And you can see there are some mineral pools, which are icy cold and refreshing to take a dip after that big climb. Today we're visiting some of the villages in the area surrounding Oaxaca where they produce a wide variety of traditional crafts. Now, this particular village makes these colorful wood carvings called alebrijes, and we're going to learn all about the process. Wow, the work that goes into these carvings is unbelievable, and the skill required for all the carving and the painting is just unreal.
So obviously we couldn't come to Oaxaca and not have a tour of a Mezcal distillery, because of course this is where Mezcal originates. So we're here at a place out in the countryside that's very famous for giving an amazing tour of their whole Mezcal workings. So we're going to tour around and hopefully I'll retain a few key facts after we do what I hope is going to be a very nice tasting.
Well, I have two mezcals to try here. One is fruity, one is herbal. I'm not sure which is which. Let's see if I can tell. I think I'm getting a little more fruit from this one, so I'm going to say this one's fruity and this one herbal. Either way, they're both wonderful.
So this one is called Madre Quiche. Apparently it's very different from the other ones we tried, so I'm going to give it a go. It is different. It's definitely different. It's a little bit lighter and very bright. I'm still not an expert. 3 sips later, I'm not an expert in Mezcal, but it is really good. And I will definitely finish this whole tiny cup.
Well, we've had more than a few tastes and we've got one for the road, so we should be good to go. Something else that Oaxaca is very famous for is, of course, the food. There are dozens of restaurants here where you can get a taste of very fancy, very high-end versions of local dishes. But what we really wanted to share with you guys is the street food. And we're kicking things off with one of the most popular dishes at one of the most popular spots. So popular, I had to take a number. Dos memelas, una de aguacate y otro de... Sí, gracias. So what I have here are 2 beautiful memelas. They're kind of like a tortilla, but a little thicker, and they've got this rim to hold in all the ingredients. They get spread with a bean sauce and then your topping of choice. In my case, I've gotten this kind of salsa of avocado and tomato and cilantro, and this other one has a bit of meat and cheese and a salsa, and I'm gonna stop talking and go ahead and give these a taste. Oh, that's delicious. It's like light and refreshing, super tasty. Now let's go in for the other one. Ooh, almost lost it. Oh yeah, that is delicious. Got some meat, a little spice, a little cheese. What a great snack to get us started.
So we are heading to the next stop on our DIY food tour. And what's really amazing about the food here in Oaxaca is that we are encountering dishes that we've honestly never even heard of before. So you saw Gillian trying the memelas. Hadn't heard of those before, even though we've been traveling through Mexico for the last few months. Well, this is another dish that we're about to have that is truly very unique, very original. So I'm really excited to see what that one's all about. Hola. Un horchata con tuna, piedrazo, okay, yeah. Well, this is quite the snack. So it's called piedrazo or piedrazo. I'm really not sure, but what it is double baked bread. So it is bread that is very dry, but it's not stale. It's just been baked twice. Then it has been soaked in a vinegar made out of fruit. So it's actually like soft to the touch here. And it's served with carrots, onions, and potatoes that have also been soaked in this fruit vinegar. So it actually has a very healthy component because it's all been kind of fermented a little together. And the whole thing is covered with queso, with string cheese, and it should be really interesting to try. So I'm gonna just have a little mouthful of this bread, and it looks a little bit like a nice soaked cake. Wow. Those are some interesting flavors. So if you like really acidic foods, like this is definitely gonna hit the spot. So I'm gonna try a forkful with just a little bit of everything in it. It's really refreshing, which is a funny thing to say about bread and carrots and cheese. And you're probably wondering what this really exciting looking drink is. So this is horchata con tuna, and what that means is the bottom layer is white and it is a rice milk, and then the top layer is the tuna, and of course that's not tuna fish, it's actually cactus. Okay, let's give her a go. Ooh, that's really lovely. It's like sweet and delicious, a little creamy from that horchata, really yummy. And then we've got some, looks like pecans in there as well. A drink you can chew.
Hola, buenas tardes. Un tejate, por favor. Gracias. We're here at the Benito Juarez Market, and we've decided to stop for a very traditional drink called tejate. So this drink starts out with a toasted corn flour, cacao beans, and a white flour known as the flor de cacao. It gets served up in these little calabash bowls, and I'm gonna give it a try. Oh, it's a little bit chunky. I'm gonna give it a stir with this stick, which they kindly provided. Well, that's very refreshing. It definitely tastes nutritious. It's sweet, a little chocolatey. I really like it.
So we are here at the November 20th market, and we've come to try a dish that is extremely popular in Oaxaca. So this is called the tlacolula, and along with the memelas that you saw Gillian try earlier, this is basically on every single menu that we've seen, and we're going to one that should be very good. Oh, gracias. So this magnificent dish is called a tlacolula, and it is the largest corn tortilla that I have ever seen. What they all have in common is the tortilla and then being spread with a bean paste and the quesillo on top, which is the cheese. In addition to all of that, this one has zucchini flowers in it. Sometimes they'll have meat on them, but we wanted to go with the one that was really pretty with the flowers. All right, so I'm going to carve a little piece off and let's give it a try. Let me dive in. It's delicious. I mean, really the dominant flavor there is the bean paste, we got the crunch of the tortilla, and then this pretty little zucchini flower right on top. It's more than an excellent snack. I mean, this is going to be a hearty lunch for me.
One of the things we've been really struggling with here in Mexico is the cost of our accommodations. We found that Airbnbs just cost a lot more than we expected. Now, some of this has to do with the occupancy tax in Mexico, but it also seems like nice Airbnbs just cost way more than local rates.
So here in Oaxaca, we went with a very simple, very minimal apartment. Certainly it was nothing like our last place in Mexico City. But if you think that means it would be cheap, well, you would be wrong. Honestly, we were a little surprised at how much it cost. But we're gonna go inside and you can judge for yourself. All right, let's go take a look. So here we are, and you can probably see what I mean about this place being very simple. You can basically stand right here and take in the entire space. It's very nicely designed and very, very minimal. The kitchen is maybe a little too minimalist. So we've got hardly any appliances here, but instead of giving you a long list of what we don't have, I'm just gonna tell you what we do have. We've got a really small fridge, we've got 2 burners and a coffee machine. So we can store a small amount of food, we can prepare very simple meals, and we can make some coffee. And I guess that kind of covers off the essentials. So it's a nice bedroom over here. There's lots of natural light. And if you saw an apartment in Mexico City, you'll know that this place has something very, very important that we didn't have in the other place. And that's a door on the bathroom. And I couldn't be happier about that. And actually there's one more feature that we just love, and that's this wonderful terrace.
All right, you've seen the apartment, you've seen where we went, what we did. Now let's talk costs.
Okay, first up is entertainment. Now, it is possible to spend very little on entertainment just by walking around and taking in all the interesting neighborhoods.
And we did that, but we also did a lot more.
Yeah, a lot more. So we actually spent $366 US, which is the most that we've ever spent before, but there was a very good reason for this.
That's right. We weren't just entertaining ourselves. We also had my family here for a couple of weeks, which was amazing.
Did I keep you waiting long?
No, not at all.
Oh, no. But since it was a very large group, we needed to organize a van and a guide for all those big excursions that we had out of town.
If it had just been the 2 of us, we definitely would have kept things more simple and rented a car for a couple of days.
Yeah, I mean, Gillian would have insisted on doing that. Anyway, speaking of transportation, other than those big trips out of town, actually, we really didn't need to spend that much.
Oaxaca is a really walkable city, and we felt close to pretty much everything.
So we ended up spending just 21 US on our cab from the airport, and that was it.
Okay, dining out. This was a fun category this month. Like you saw, we really enjoyed trying all the interesting street food here.
But actually, it wasn't just street food. So Oaxaca has a very amazing restaurant scene with something at really every price point.
We can really see why this is Mexico's foodie capital. These were some of the best restaurants that we ate at during our entire 4 months in Mexico.
So in total, dining out cost us just over $400, and that included basically a meal or a snack out every single day. Of course, we still ate a lot of meals at home, but we had kind of a struggle getting groceries.
I went to the Mercado de R.LUM.R for most of our produce. You saw us going there on the first day. And the produce was super cheap, the cheapest that we've seen anywhere in Mexico. But I never found that one amazing grocery store where I could cover off the rest of our needs. So instead I had to go to one store for organic chicken and eggs, another one for bulk goods,
another one for coffee. I think you get the picture. So our total spend on groceries was, again, just over $400.
Finally, our Airbnb. As you saw, it's a simple place, well designed, but not a lot of frills.
No, not a lot of frills at all. So for this, we ended up paying about $1,800 US for the month, which I kind of think was a little on the high side for what we got.
Yeah, it was a little high. After spending 4 months in Mexico, we're definitely not seeing it as a low-cost destination.
No, not at all. So if your point of comparison is what you'd normally be paying at home in the US or Canada or Western Europe, then yes, your money does go further here.
But not as far as you'd think.
No.
Likely the combination of pricey Airbnbs and lots of very tempting restaurants has a lot to do with it.
Certainly your budget will go a lot further if you stick to to street food or casual eats if you get a lower cost apartment and just do more independent touring.
Which isn't what we did at all.
No, not at all. So our total for a very full visit to Oaxaca, I mean, we had great meals, we toured the region. This came in at, drum roll, just over $3,000.
I guess that's not bad for how much we experienced, but it is kind of on the high side. Of course, if you want to see some real spending, you can check out our time in Mexico City.
That's right. We stayed in a very luxurious apartment right in Roma Norte. We ate at incredible restaurants.
Went on some unforgettable tours, so if you want to see how much that set us back, you can take a look at the next video right here.